What's up, everyone? It is Ricci from the F1 podcast. Happy New Year. Today is January 21st, 2024, Season 3, Episode 34. And oh boy, we have a special one today. We are bringing back the Form1es. This is the second annual Form1es. The first one was a huge success last year, actually one of our most listened episodes. So we're bringing it back. We have some new categories. We have some old categories. Before we get into the awards ceremony of an interesting season, my beautiful co-hosts, Andrew Cleary and Erica Hollingsworth, how are you two?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Living the dream. Living the dream. We're here for it. And unlike last year, I'm not going to be doing the crazy drum roll and applause thing that kind of got a little bit out of hand, and I abused that privilege.
We have sound effects for.
I think let's get right into it. First off, couple of things. Thank you everyone for the support, noticing growth we did hit over 700 followers on Instagram before the end of 2023. That was really exciting for us. We are going to be at Trinity Common for the first race of the season for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I hope to see you guys in a couple of months for that.
I think it's actually just in a month, to be honest with you.
Yeah, honestly, we're
days.
Because it's just over a month, right? Like if it's the first weekend in March and we're approaching the end of January, it's like 5-6 weeks.
I know it's been really cold in Canada, so just like time has just become like a blur.
Time is a
blur. So I guess let's kind of get right into the categories. So first up, we have the race of the year, and this award is awarded to, as the title says, what was the best race of the year? So our nominees are the Singapore Grand Prix, the Las Vegas Grand Prix, the Dutch Grand Prix, or the Italian Grand Prix. And so the winner of the race of the year for the second annual Form1es is Las Vegas Grand Prix. And I think this is okay. So I'm gonna be honest. This was really interesting that we awarded this one to it, but I totally get where are some of the arguments for this. I think overall there's a lot of expectation and a lot of excitement going into that weekend. Then we realized kind of closer to a lot of the time constraints or just issues with construction, locals voicing their opinions. Then we have the whole kerfuffle on practice with Carlos Sainz going over a drain sewage. But then all of a sudden Sunday, like everything went away and we had some of probably the best racing that we've seen all year. And I think kudos to it with Leclerc trying to take over Perez in the final turn of the final lap, and saw a lot of other amazing things. But I think Vegas stood out. I can't believe I'm saying this. As the race of the year.
Honestly, I think we all thought this was going to be a little bit chaotic. Like we were like, we don't need another street circuit. This is so stupid. And also all the rules and random things about like how they were boarding up any viewing of the race if you weren't in an official seat, and that one bleacher collapsed. Like it was a whole thing. But the racing itself was very entertaining, like to a level that I did not anticipate.
Well, especially when you look at the track, right? You're looking at it, and people were making just fun of it to begin with, right? Calling it like the upside down pig from the Simpsons movie in terms of its layout, whatnot. And
I forgot about that.
I don't blame it, right? Because when you look at the track, it's like, what the F is this? And then it turned out to be an incredible street circuit with an incredible amount of overtaking, lots of drama on track, and it was like a ton of fun for the race. So yeah, despite all of the negativity that surrounded the first few days of it, there was then, probably the best race season. Plus also having Bruce Buffer yell in Sergio Perez's face. It made it pretty well good too.
Probably like one of the top 5 most awkward moments of the year, and I'm here for it.
Do we have that as an award?
Oh, absolutely. It's a little
awkward moment, no, but note to self for next year.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, we were talking about how Vegas brought a lot of fun overtakes, and our next award is for Overtake of the Year. So where we saw some really fun battles happening between the drivers. Our 3 nominees were Fernando Alonso on Sergio Perez in Sao Paulo, especially those last few laps. We have Alonso and Hamilton at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Good fun going into that little hairpin there. And then lastly, Leclerc over Perez at the Vegas Grand Prix because, of course, there was some great action going on between those two on the circuit. But with that said, there can only be one winner, and our winner is Fernando Alonso on Sergio Perez in Brazil. Woo! Honestly, those last few laps of the Brazil Grand Prix were just absolutely insane. Like that was phenomenal racing at Interlagos.
Just chalk one award up already for Aston Martin great drivers. Okay. Just put that up there. It's funny because they even both made comments after that race about how it was like a breath of fresh air being able to defend or race against each other like that. Without having to worry about a crash, right? Or, having people rub each other's wheels in terms of, driving them off track. It was just clean racing. And then, the overtake was just so smart because I think he dummied Perez into a position where Perez was just not going to be able to kind of come out of it. And Alonso just slingshot around him to get to the P3 finish and was able to defend him off. So it's always great to see good quality racing on the track, especially when it's with two veterans in the game.
Yeah, and if I can just build off that, Andrew, I think one of the big things that we really wanted to see this year is because of Max Verstappen's dominance, what's going to happen the rest of the grid? Where are we going to see those amazing battles, or if we're going to see some of those battles? And like, despite Sergio Perez being in the same car as Max Verstappen, like we can talk about that at another time, but like we are able to see some of these battles between other cars, and everything at Sao Paulo is always a great track, and there's some sort of excitement where something goes down. I always love how it's one of the last tracks of the season because it is always kind of a title clincher or per se. So I think just rewatching like this part right now, it was just amazing just to kind of see these two battle to literally the bitter end. I think it was a photo finish at that moment.
Awesome. Well, we can't talk about race day without talking about qualifying the day before, right? Or even sometimes the day of, depending on, or 2 days before, depending on this little stupid sprint format that they got. But here nor there. We're going to do the QualiKing, or the best qualifying lap of the season. And our nominees are A is Verstappen's Q3 qualifying lap in Monaco for pole. B is Hamilton's Q3 lap in Hungary for pole. Have the most poles at a racetrack in Formula One history, or Danny Rick's Q3 performance in Mexico for P5 in the AlphaTauri, or the Visa Cash App race back, raising bull crap. You lose. Car. I don't know. What do you want to call it?
Yeah, I was gonna question that. Is like, if he wins this award, does this get sent to the stewards for investigation? Like, is this name really legit? Sorry, Andrew. Announce the winner of this one.
That's
My
okay.
apologies.
But the winner of this QualiKing is Danny Rick Q3 in Mexico. And
Dang.
I know
Danny,
people are
report
going
to
to
the
be like,
stewards, please. Danny, report to the stewards, please.
well, I know people are going to be like, but Verstappen had an amazing Monaco, lap, and hitting the wall to get past Fernando and really making up time in the sector 3 to get it, and Hamilton setting the record for home. But I'm like, AlphaTauri was a disgusting car this year in terms of its performance, and in the sense that it was horrible. And
Absolutely terrible.
it's about as bad as its new team name coming up, and just the fact that he was able to put P5 in that AlphaTauri, especially when it was like his comeback tour after the injury.
I'll go next here, and I think especially, yeah, because for a season that didn't really have a lot of major moves in the sense of drivers leaving, or like the fact that Danny Ricciardo was able to get a spot, and we did see some decent racing for him in this year, and mind you, the car that he was in, but to put that car in a P5, especially in Mexico, that was really quite remarkable, and like kudos to him. I mean, I will see how next year goes for him in that car, but I can't even remember what the new name of the team is.
I honestly don't remember if he did, but either way, dragging that car into Q3 when I'm pretty sure there were a few instances of Yuki like not being able to even start a race. Like, didn't his car just like die a couple times very early on in a race, or before the race even started and stuff? It's just a nightmare. So kudos to Danny Rick, the Honey Badger, bringing it back full swing.
He only lost 3 spots. He got P7 in that race. Seen Red award. Oh boy. You lose. So this award is called Seen Red Award, our team's most painful moment of the year. I guess we don't really have, I don't think it's really an award per se here, but we have to talk about what was the most painful part of the season. I think number one for me, I think, is just Leclerc's lack of him able to get in pole, but not converting that on the Sunday. And I know that has been a topic of conversation for a number of pundits. And mind you, yes, it didn't help that Max was on fire this year, but out of 23 races from pole, he's only won, I think, 4 of them. And that's like, I think, I don't know what my math is, but that's like a 17% conversion.
It's
So
not
seeing
good.
that,
It's not good.
yeah. So seeing that multiple times this year of just like, oh, great, he got pole on Saturday, and then he was not able to convert that on Sunday. It's like, what is the over under when Max Verstappen's going to pass him? And I think just overall, he like the fact he didn't have the greatest of years too, just piles on just like the amount of stress of just being a Ferrari driver. So
As much as McLaren ended the season on a high note, it was a rough start, like a very rough start. So much so that in a bar filled with 40 of our friends and family members, I was crying during the first race. So for me, the low point as a McLaren fan was Bahrain. We had Oscar DNFing early on due to some electrical issues in his car. Lando made 6 pit stops because he was having issues with the hydraulics and finishing P19 as a result. Bad enough to watch that happen. Even worse to watch it happen surrounded by a multitude of other people who are witnessing your very visceral reaction to what's going on. So for me, that was the low point. Again, happy they could turn it around, but obviously, it was rough. And in terms of people whose season started one way and finished another, Andrew, talk to us about your team.
It was a frustrating season for Aston Martin, all things considered, because we had the good and the bad and kind of the ugly. We had the great in terms of Fernando Alonso going to, being able to, finish P4 in the driver's standings. But what really was kind of the most painful moment of the year was the dust up, I would say, between Lance Stroll and his trainer after a really poor performance in Qatar's qualifying, because it was just a buildup of just negative results for Lance, right? He had a great start to the season coming back after his injury with his broken wrists. He kind of downward spot a little bit out throughout the season, and it kind of like it got to a point of just bubble up all this frustration, and he just let it out, unfortunately, in Qatar. And it was tough to see because it wasn't really a professional moment on his part, and we questioned that during our podcast of that episode, or our review of that race. But then I guess like kind of the silver lining is that he was able to turn it around after Qatar and had some pretty good results. So that's one of the most painful moments, because you never want to see your driver like have those moments of just like of a frustration or of pent up aggression in the towards his team. And but I think it was a really big learning moment for Lance moving forward in that case.
well, if I could just build off that, Andrew, especially Formula One, we always see it as, there are 2 drivers, and, we all talk about, oh, there's a number 1 driver, there's a number 2 driver. But in the end, like, as it's because Formula One is like seen as a team sport, and you need both drivers to do very well in order to have a good position in the constructors. And like those points matter at the end of the year, is like, how much time do I get in the wind tunnel? How much money do I get? And so just seeing how Fernando Alonso was able to dominate throughout the first part of the season, then you had, and with Lance struggling, and you just saw that boiling point, as you mentioned, and we were able to see some resurgence towards the end, but like, where was that at the start of the season? So I completely agree with you, and that was probably like a tough moment for Aston Martin fans, is like how they started off this year for Fernando, and then just like kind of that boiling point, or towards this end of the summer or start of the summer break.
Our next award has to do with what we love. Best part about F1 is like the radio moments, right? So we're going to do the They
Yes.
Said What award as the best radio moment in the 2023 calendar year. The first nominee being that there's a lizard on the track, a smaller one this time. Maybe Godzilla had a kid. Verstappen and GP talking about Singapore when the lizard went across the track. Then B is the Norris P5 in Austria, kind of like the turnaround point for the season of McLaren, and how we won driver of the day. Because he said that's because there's so many papaya fans here, knowing that the orange was for Max. That point in the orange smoke. Or our third nominee is the good weather for a duck. Basically, the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal, the downpour that happened on free practice too, and basically how the cars were pretty much boats at that point. And the winner of the They Said What award goes to Valtteri Bottas with the good weather for a duck comment in Canada. Now, if you haven't checked out our Instagram reels, or have you checked our Instagram page, go to the reels of the race, because Jono did some incredible, I should say, journalism there in the rain during that free practice session.
It's the first time I've had to put my phone in rice, and I hope I don't have to ever do that again. And it was really interesting because I'm actually looking back on my photos of the day, and the morning started off as kind of cloudy, but like didn't really indicate of like what the weather is going to be. And I'm hearing from a lot of people, like the joke is in Canada, you get all types of weather when you attend a Formula One race, and like Erica can attest to this in 2022.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But like that last 10 minutes, you kind of just saw the clouds starting to come, and people were like, do we stay? Do we not? And then the minute the first piece of rain went, just like people just started to run. And then there was just us. We're like, oh, we can definitely do this with our rain gear. And then surprisingly not, like my rain gear was soaked. But then I got a really good video. I think it was either Lance Stroll. Yeah, it was Lance Stroll coming down the chicane and just like doing a slow-mo, and I think that got like 5,000 views on YouTube. But it was just like, it was really incredible to kind of just see that. And it is very accurate. The ducks love that water for sure.
Now, not only do we have good weather for ducks, but sometimes the ducks overstay their welcome, as we've seen with many a critter staying on the track. Which brings us to our next award, the Overstayed Their Welcome Award. So this is about the folks that we think should maybe no longer be in their position after this year, both behavior on, off the track, all over the place.
Yes.
We don't even have them listed here, but you know what? Very solid call out given what we've seen in the news the last while.
Honorable mention, that prick Ginas.
Honorable mention. But our 4 nominees that we put in this category, from Haas, we did have Kevin Magnussen. Our second nominee also being Nico Hülkenberg after a disappointing show for the team this season. We also nominated Sergio Perez. As much as he was able to put good points on the board, I think we all know, the performance, especially in qualifying, left a lot to be desired. And lastly, the controversial figure, Helmut Marko. I feel as if that needs no explanation at this point in time. But with that said, our winner for the Overstayed Their Welcome Award is Helmut Marko. That's my attempt at a sad trombone sound. Here's the thing. As much as he's not involved in, let's say, the nitty-gritty, the day-to-day of what goes on at Red Bull, this guy needs to learn to keep his mouth shut and maybe just step away. Just stop. Just stop it. And that's my take.
Communications is a very big piece for a lot of companies, and that public image and public affairs of like what you do on the day-to-day. And if you have like an individual that's going out against your team's message, that really throws like Christian Horner, I don't think that he really enjoys having to deal with headlines of Helmut Marko and some of the comments that he's made. And like, quite frankly, it's just been hard to understand his contributions to the team when, like, if he's only bringing in negative headlines. We saw the comments towards Sergio. We saw, him bashing De Vries when he was on the team. So it just like was kind of an escalation of like a ball of just negativity when he kind of just walks around. And it's like, does a team really want to deal with that? Because like Red Bull had a perfect season, and it's like, would that be the only negative thing that they had to of the season? But I just think that they would probably be better without him. But yeah, that's just how I see this.
Yeah, and like the fact that he made a comment about Sergio that his fluctuation in performance was due to his ethnicity is just outrageous. Like outrageous. It has nothing to do with his performance whatsoever. And this is about your own driver too. Like, where is the time of support? Like, I get it's a very cutthroat business, but my God, you like support your team.
I honestly am at a loss for words sometimes when a story comes out. As soon as I see Red Bull's Helmut Marko in a headline, I'm like, oh God, what did he do now?
He makes a comment about everything, and then he thinks like it's just like his opinion matters so much.
Yep.
overall, and it's just like, dude, back away.
Helmut is going to need a helmet if he keeps that up much
Yeah.
longer. So,
Look,
anyway, on
very
a happier,
very poor fashion of timing for him.
yeah, it'd be a very unfashionable choice to keep up with that. But you know what is fashionable? Guys, look at these segues. We're crushing it right now. But I believe we doled this award out last year, but you know how it is. People show up in their best fits for that race day attire. So we have our Lewis Hamilton Fashion Award for Best Race Day Attire. We've got a lot of people for which we need to respect the drip. And the nominees in this category are Sir Lewis Hamilton, Zhou Guanyu, and Daniel Ricciardo, which I was impressed with Ricciardo. You know, he came back and he lost absolutely zero step on the swagger this year. But if we're going to talk about the Lewis Hamilton Fashion Award, the winner's going to be Lewis Hamilton. Ah! We saw many a fantastic outfit from Mr. Sir Hamilton this year, and quite frankly, he's keeping it up in the off season too. For those of you who didn't see him at the Dior runway show the other day, I highly suggest looking it up. It is a pretty sweet outfit, and the shoes alone, I'm very jealous of not having. Not that I even remotely possess the funds that would be required to purchase them, but I would like them if I could. So it's, yeah, just like Lewis Hamilton crushed it this year. Honestly, it like sometimes we've had some tight calls with a few of the other people having like really awesome fits when they show up, but he just stole the show this year.
Even like I remember watching him, he went to the Wynn Las Vegas to do like to promote his like his non-alcoholic drink, and just like the way he walked into the room, his style, it just like nobody could touch him.
Truthfully, he dresses better than most, to I think probably majority of celebrities in the business currently.
Truly, honestly. I just think it's nice that like you think about a lot of sports and everyone is kind of pivoting away from the traditional outfits. Like in F1, you think a lot of the time it's people with like a team polo and a hat coming into the paddock and stuff. And it used to be like for hockey, it was just suit and tie the entire time. But I kind of like that people are getting the opportunity to maybe kind of like express themselves a little more, show off a little bit, feel like you show up as your best self when you're really confident and you feel really good in what you're wearing. And if like walking in to the paddock or something with a little bit of swagger gives you that edge going into a race, absolutely should be, I think, more of the norm. And I encourage them. I'm curious. Esteban Ocon always shows up wearing team swag and stuff, and I'm just so curious what that guy would wear if he stepped outside the lines a little bit.
They are all celebrities in themselves, and they should all have like their own image per se. But when we're talking about celebrities, let's talk about like interactions this season. Oh, you see what I did there?
Segue.
Oh, fired up, son. But on all seriousness, so the best celebrity interaction this season. This award is going to go out to basically what was the best celebrity interaction this season, whether it involved Formula One community, whether it involved us, whether it involved anybody that we knew. So we have 4 nominations: Sergio Perez and Bruce Buffer, Machine Gun Kelly and Martin Brundle, that famous Martin Brundle walk, a grid walk, myself and Gordon Ramsay, and myself and former F1 driver Johnny Herbert. And the winner of this award, which I think is really funny that I'm presenting it, so it's like I get the award and I just walk off the stage thanking people. So it's myself beating Gordon Ramsay. Basically, being in the right moment at the right time really does pay off. Like, I was allowed to be there. No one stopped me. But then when he started walking up towards me, he was a great individual, and I asked for a photo. He waited 4 seconds, and then he said, quick, quick. I struggled, but his PR guy took the photo. And apparently he goes to a lot of races, and we've seen him a lot on TV. I think his team is Mercedes, but he just always loves to watch Formula Ones, and I think that was really cool to see. And his team liked the photo on our Instagram page, and that's pretty sick in itself.
I mean,
Go check out our Instagram if you haven't seen the pic, because it's pretty spectacular. I'm
I'll
not
make
gonna
sure,
lie.
I'll make sure in the YouTube video it's these things are all captured. So
I mean, it's Gordon freaking Ramsay, man. Like,
I was
absolutely
so intimidated
idol.
when he was walking too.
I know, but it's to me, he's on that upper echelon of celebrity tier that if you get a photo with, it's like it's so unique, so special in that case.
I was ready for him to call me an idiot sandwich. I was like ready for the 2 pieces of bread to hit my face, and like, you know, whether it's rye bread, white bread, doesn't even matter. You just take whatever you get from him.
It could be a little bit of pumpernickel. Mix it up,
Oh,
have something a little bit different in there, you know?
So that was a Canadian Grand Prix. I believe Max Verstappen won the Canadian Grand Prix. Segueing into our next award is that, the Max Verstappen, it's based around him. He won 19 times this year, people. 19.
Which was
9.
insane.
It's our job to determine what the most impressive Max Verstappen win is. So this is the Tyler Hatherell Award. Shout out Tyler, one of our special friends of the pod. We named this award after him, being his massive Max Verstappen Red Bull fandom that he is. We collectively thought that the most impressive Max Verstappen win was, drumroll, is Monaco. In all seriousness, that was an insane Q3 session where Max was down like I think 0.2 of a second or something crazy like that going into the sector 3, and then being able to take that pole position by, I don't know where he found the time, to be honest with you, in that short of a sector, but he did to get pole was incredible. And then in a wet to dry race at Monaco, he just dominated the field, like from start to finish, didn't lose his Q1 like pace at all, or Q3 paces at all, and won the race by 27 seconds.
And and this is like what we've talked about is that, because as these cars get bigger and things change in that sense, so it's like, okay, well, a track like Monaco, does that make sense with some of these bigger cars? And we kind of questioned this to the season. It's like, should Monaco stay on the grid? But like this season, I mean, this race was clearly like a I don't know, revolt, I guess, in that debate, like why it should stay. And yeah, we saw some really impressive racing on that weekend. Like the fact that he won by 27 seconds, remarkable. And also, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like, was it Ocon that got P3 that race too? Like there was like impressive moments throughout that. So like I think just seeing how he was able just to dominate throughout that grid was like pretty sick.
It was very shocking. I mean, like, I know I haven't necessarily wanted Monaco to be off the grid or off the list of races, but we have talked about the number of street circuits being a little bit crazy. But this was one where, like, I enjoyed it. This year, Monaco was also a little bit crazy. Like, there was a lot happening at all times during this race, which I appreciated because other years, like we said, they start and they just finish the same way that they started. So I was here for it. And also, it was just so impressive. Like 27-second lead on a street circuit. That's bonkers.
I think what also made it more impressive too is that it was a wet to dry race. So there was an opportunity where like the race could bunch up based on, tire strategy and wet, but they said, nah, I'm just gonna lap the field regardless of the conditions in that case. So yeah, but with that said, a lot of the focus was on Max, right? And how we preached on this podcast about how we needed to find other other moments to celebrate within the year, and that's what we can do with the best newcomer, or the new phone who dis award as the best newcomer of the 2023 season. Our nominees are Logan Sargent at Williams, Liam Lawson, we'll count it, at AlphaTauri or Visa Racing crap, Ash Bowl crap, I don't know what we're gonna call it. Racing, or Oscar Piastri at McLaren. And the winner of the New Phone Who Dis award goes to Oscar Piastri at McLaren.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm sure a shock to everybody in this case. To be honest with you, Oscar had an incredible rookie season, probably one of the best rookie seasons that we've seen in a long time. I don't know what Ricci's going on. What is your face?
Sorry, I totally forgot how it rained in Monaco, and that just ruined the track completely. But yes, no, on a serious note, Oscar Piastri very much deserves this award. I think he's probably had the best rookie season. I think definitely I think it's F1 history. The fact that he won,
I would say since Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, I think, had the best one.
Okay, yeah,
Finishing P2 since Lewis Hamilton, I don't think there's been a better rookie season.
Yeah, and like the fact that he was able to win a sprint race on his first time on an F1 team, while his other driver has not won a race in 5 seasons of him being in Form1, and just what he's accomplished, and also like a little bit of rivalry with Daniel Ricciardo now, like who is the best Aussie driver. Like you just kind of love to kind of see that kind of like that little rivalry in the land of Down Under. But like it's fun to see, and honestly, Oscar's got a bright future in Formula One, and he also helped me a lot in fantasy. So like, thank you, Oscar. So just keep that up. But yeah, he deserves this award 1000%.
I always just love any of the media content around Oscar. He's, I don't know, in my mind, just like a normal dude who's been dealt like a pretty awesome hand in life. And that just adds to this whole Rookie of the Year thing. We've got all these other people going all these crazy places for their trips. Like Lando Norris has been all over the globe. And then Oscar Piastri has just been like popping into a rugby game with his girlfriend. And like, I don't know, I just love that. I just love that he always looks half asleep and he's just chilling and hanging out all the time.
It's funny
It's
when
my
you
vibe.
consider like a little bit of normalcy in life is now determined to be a weird person in the sport.
Yes, the fact that he is not over the top saying the most absurd thing to come to his mind at all times is it's a breath of fresh air and definitely different from the norm.
But it's great to see great to finally see a person who's been able to, win at every level kind of in the ranks of F1 or in the Formula Series, right? Being an F2 champion, finally really being able to get a chance to showcase what he can do in a good car, right? It's tough,
Yep.
like for a guy like with Schumacher, recent, right? To be in Haas and kind of showcase his performance there, right?
Yep.
George Russell, like Lando, finally being able to now, like George Russell now being able to showcase kind of his time in Mercedes, right? It's really good to see that these junior series really work for these drivers and what the product that they're producing for future is going to be, I think, really great for the sport in general. I think it should be a rule that if you win the F2, you should have a seat for F1 next season. I know it's ideal world to have that.
It's sad because like we do see some of these great drivers in F2 that probably just don't get the award of like making that next jump. I also just think it's funny from Oscar being with Alpine and the incident with online. It's just about re-signing and stuff, and then he goes to McLaren and absolutely like dominates. And so Alpine looks like they probably have like eggs all over their face. Segueing into, did you see that? Like, especially with how he was racing, did you see that award? And this award goes to what was our best on track moment. So we're getting towards the end, but I think some of these awards are going to be fun for discussion. So number one, first nominee for Did You See That on the Track was Alonso watching Stroll battle on track while racing in Miami. Oscar Piastri sprint race victory in Qatar. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz and McLaren's Lando Norris defense in Singapore, / the dual ministers of defense. And I guess the award for this one will go to Ferrari's Carlos Sainz and McLaren's Lando's Norris's defense in Singapore.
It was very fun to watch that. And also when they were telling Carlos that Lando was behind him and he was like, I know it's by design, I'm giving him DRS, just like fully calling it out. Oh, it was beautiful.
The meme where it's like goes the hold up, let him cook. I mean,
Yeah.
that's exactly what Carlos was. And you have to have his engineers have no clue what they're doing regardless. So they have to keep, pestering Carlos with questions as to why he's doing and not being able to see the beauty unfold in front of him. It just shows like Carlos's racecraft is incredible, right? In the sense that he's designing that plan all himself. And the confidence that he's being able to go around a very tough Singapore track, while being able to maintain the strategy of providing Lando the DRS so that he can then defend his position. It's just some guys are playing checkers out there and Carlos is playing chess.
And with that said, some people are playing checkers, and what happens when you get to the other side of a board in checkers? You get kinged and you come back, which is kind of like a U-turn, is it not? So our next award is to honor those with the best season turnaround, a bit of a U-turn, if you will. So we're talking about our U-turn award. So we've got a couple nominees here. We've got McLaren's second half of the season after a very rough start. We have Alex Albon in the Williams, where I think we were all going, what the heck is this guy doing and how is he doing it at the end of the season? And lastly, we've got Mercedes, who a little bit of a rocky start, I would say, for the team there, but they really did manage to turn it around with some impressive finishes and results at the end of the season. Which one will take the cake? The winner is McLaren's second half of the season.
No.
Woo!
Are you like racking up the awards this year?
We all voted on these together, so it's not like I really had a say.
You lose.
It's not like they gained like 1.8 seconds from like the starting performance, which
It's not like they had one of the fastest pit stops of all time. I think it was the fastest pit stop of all time in a race.
It was. They literally
Um,
set the record for fastest pit stop.
so, but I think, I mean, we were kind of talking about it before. That was a rough start to the 2023 season. I remember even after Azerbaijan being like, what is going on? I don't understand. Like, the year before was not great for McLaren. 2022 was a bit rough. 2021 was the last time we'd really seen them in fine form, but you know, there'd been some momentum in 2022. I think we expected a good result in the 2023 season and it just wasn't happening. But wow, what a turnaround, especially after the summer break.
We did see that. The fact that, Oscar getting his first race win, a number of podiums, like they literally jumped, I don't know, was it 3 constructor positions? And like, if they started on a tail just a couple races before the summer break, they could have easily landed in like top 3 of the constructors. I think definitely it also helped like some good quality driving for both drivers, not just one. But yeah, I think McLaren, that really did throw a lot of us off, just how successful they were on the second half of the season.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder why Zach Brown didn't make these moves earlier. You know what I mean, right? Like how, like I think they were on pace. Well, they could have definitely been on pace to compete with Red Bull second half onwards if they maintained if they started with that car and kept the developments going. So I'm really interested to see how 2024 turns out, because if they end such a high, they could be the ones to fight Red Bull for P1 in the constructors.
Oh, that's a
At the
take.
end of the
Oh,
day.
Lordy, don't get my hopes up. Ooh,
I'm just saying.
That is a take.
all I want is Lando to get his first win.
Yeah, so Andrew, like let's just start with some baby steps here.
Okay.
But speaking about GOATs, let's talk about the MVP award of the season. We have 3 nominees. We have Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen, and Lewis Hamilton. This award, dedicated to Michael Schumacher, the GOAT of all GOATs in Formula One. No matter what, I think this award is automatically going to go to Max Verstappen. Just how he just the season that he had. Like, I don't want to go through all the stats. We have gone in many of episodes have highlighted of his success, but just the way that he was able to drive that car, no matter what position he was in, winning by like at sometimes 20 seconds, 30 seconds, he was just like absolute dominant. And he just looked very calm, cool, and collective, no matter what was thrown at him. But it also helps that he was always just P1. So that just like made it even more sweeter for him. So
Seals the frickin' deal.
I might get a lot of slack from Mercedes fans for saying this, but I think Max Verstappen had the best championship winning season that we've seen in a long time. It was better than any of Lewis's title championship years, just because from the fact that he won 19 of 22 races. Like, he only lost 3 times.
And even then,
Yeah, even then, right? Like, he finished P2 he finished 2 of the 3 that he lost. Singapore was his worst race, where I think he finishes like P5 or P6. Like, just think about that. Your worst result of the year is P5 or P6. P5.
P5, oh my gosh, that's insane. But you know what else is insane? Some of the drama we get on Drive to Survive.
Which season 6 is coming soon.
It's coming soon. It's coming real soon. You know what? I'm really anxious to see what comes out of this past season and this new season of DTS. So that takes us to our next award, which is the DTS Storyline of the Year.
It's also our final award of the evening as well.
Our final award, yes. And so which storyline would be best featured on DTS Season 6? So we have 4 nominees here. It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie, I like all of these, but our first one being the focus on Alpine's roller coaster ride. This is including Ocon's 7 DNFs. Oh my gosh. His collision with Gasly in Australia, the mid-season firing of Otmar, Laurent Rossi, and the announcement of a new celebrity ownership group. Isn't Ryan Reynolds part of this too? Like, did
yes.
he put his
Yeah,
foot in the door
Patrick
with that?
Mahomes.
Yeah, like
The joke is
very-
that he had a better success investing in Alpine rather than the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
yes. It's true if you're a hockey fan. Sorry, that's just true. Our next nominee being the good, the bad, the ugly of Aston Martin. The good, Fernando Alonso being the 5th fastest car on the grid to a P4 finish in the World Driving Championship. Bad, Lance Stroll's overall season. And ugly, his encounter with his trainer in Qatar. Our third nominee being the fall of the House of Haas F1 Racing. And lastly, just a small tidbit, but this is an interesting stat. Almost 15% of the season's DNFs being at the Australian GP. I feel like that's going to come up a couple times as they focus on each team, but yep, that's a storyline they're going to follow for sure. But with that said, our favorite storyline that we think would be best featured on season 6 is Alpine's roller coaster ride. One of those things where I didn't realize how insane of a season it was for them until all of this was laid out bare in front of me. But even to boot, going into the season, there was all the drama around Gasly going to Alpine because he and Ocon, despite knowing each other for a long time, there's a bit of tension between them from a personal relationship side. Even though they continuously tell people that there is no bad blood and they love each other, you just know that there's some PR person behind the camera bribing them with candy or holding them at gunpoint, one or the other. I think that combining, we know DTS, they love like a good juicy personal interest side to it, not just like the pure racing details of it all. And I just feel like with all these stats we see here of the DNFs, collisions, you know, silly season stuff happening during the summer break, and the personal juice that they've got to use between Gasly and Ocon, it just makes for some probably very interesting television.
2 French drivers on a French team. Who's going to be number 1? I talked about this early in this one of the first episodes of the season. I was like, there's no way that they're both going to get along. It's not going to be possible just because if the only French team on the grid, and it's like, okay, well, I want to be the number 1 French driver on a French team. Hilarious, just thinking of all that. And then the mid-season fire in Otmar, and then all of a sudden we're just chilling one day, and they're just like, boom, like all these celebrities just come invest millions of dollars into this team, and it's just like, okay, this makes total sense. And then we had the drama of, you know, Ryan Reynolds. We love Ryan Reynolds, let's be clear, we love him dearly in Canada. Just like he's thinking about going into the Ottawa Senators, and then he's like, psych, I'm going to go to Alpine. It's just a lot going on, a lot of like heads in one room that like I just don't know how that's going to work out, but just
because like there's gonna be so many fun moments. Like I think what they could pull, like they're gonna make the crash in Australia between the two of them so dramatic, right?
Yep.
Just to just create that animosity between them out of the gate. And they're also going to showcase how successful Oscar Piastri is doing in F1. And that was a direct decision from Laurent Rossi and Otmar Safnauer to really not fight for his contract in that case. I'm sure they did but they just let him go, right? Like,
And there really wasn't that much drama that came out of the whole, they say I'm racing for them, but I'm not moment. Really.
is that just some ineptitude on their end for not like really secure, like locking that down in that case? So it's it is going to be one of the, I think it's going to be a full-on episode. It should be a full-on episode in DTS.
I'm hoping so. I'm just living for the drama at this point in time, and I think this would be some of the good tea to spill. Spill the tea, the people want to know.
And with that ends the 2nd annual Form1es Awards. Thank you for all your submissions to our fans, and thank you, Erica and Andrew. This is like always a fun episode to record, and probably will be a most popular one to end off season 3. We got some things for season 4. I mean, we got Erica showing off some cool bling bling on Instagram last
Say
week.
word, trackside jewelry, check it out.
We got a fun interview coming up. We can't spill who it's with yet, but I think you've seen this person somewhere on TV. Let's just leave it at that. Season 4, like we got Formula 1 is just around the corner. We're seeing a lot of excitement, especially like with us growing and all the support that we've been receiving from everyone. So we just want to say thank you. And, you know, 2024, let's kick butt. We'll be back in Montreal again for the Canadian Grand Prix. And whoever wants to hang out with us, just shoot us a DM.
I mean, I can't wait. We're going to have great interviews. We're going to have like some hot starts to the year in terms of we have to review what the heck that has been going on in the past few weeks in F1 with regards to name changes, with regards to personnel changes, you know, with regards to people not wanting to spend money because they're too cheap to own a Formula 1 team, but I digress.
Cough, cough, Gene Haas.
Yeah. Anyways, we have a lot to look forward to in season 4. It's going to be, I think, one of our best seasons yet. And I can't wait to share the ride with you two.
It's going to be a blast. And what a lovely crew to ride the wave with. That's the saying, right? Ride the wave?
Yeah, we're going to ride the
we'll
wave.
go with that.
Just as I was singing, I was like, does this make sense? But it does make sense.
Or the Alpine roller coaster ride. Who knows?
Alpine roller coaster ride, also an apt metaphor. So.
I'll take riding the wave better than a roller coaster, but like, let's be real. Yeah, love you guys. equally. So
So that was season 3, episode 34, the final episode of season 3. Everybody, again, we cannot thank the support, and we cannot thank you enough for your support. Our fans have been just tremendous throughout this whole season and our journey so far to date. We hope you'd love the the Form1es episode. We can't wait to see you in season 4, where we have some fun things planned. And again, we're gonna have more fan interactions, right? We're gonna be at Trinity Commons for races. Again, it's just gonna be an incredible time. But until we talk then, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the F1 season break. We'll be back again very soon with season 4, episode 1. We can't say what the episode is, but we will be back. But don't forget to follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, follow us where you can get your podcast at Apple, Spotify, and Ricci's YouTube channel. With that said, this is the F1 podcast presenting the finals episode of season 3. Season 4 is around the corner. Can't wait to see you there.